They hated us back then, but they sure like to climb on top of us. Hey nerds, welcome back to my channel. We are continuing the review of Lovecraft Country. We're going to be diving into episode 2 today. But before we get into that, I just want to thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Now let's get into this. Alright, episode 2 is titled Whitey's on the Moon. So before I jump in, I just want to thank you guys for watching the first video. I appreciate your support. Thank you. And one more thing, sorry. In the first episode, I was saying that Tick was dreaming about World War II when really it was the Vietnam War. I don't know why I said World War II, but I'm correcting myself right now. Alright, now let's jump in. So this episode starts that very same morning and Letty and George are having a time in this lodge. I mean, they are thriving. Letty is gallivanting in some very nice fancy clothes and Uncle George is living his best life in his own personalized library. And of course I'm jealous because I love clothes and books. But all the fun ends when the scene cuts to a very shaken Tick replaying the events of the night before in his head. He is trying his damnedest to make sense of it all. So the group gathers and they are reintroduced to the man they met that morning. His name is William Braithwaite. William is giving them the tour of the lodge and the whole time Tick has the feeling that something is not right. The group gets a crash course of the lodge's founder, Titus Braithwaite, a rich white slave owner who died when the original lodge burned down. They are standing in a replica. Tick is not falling for the niceties or the hospitality and he realizes that Letty and George have no memory of what happened the night before. Not the creatures, not the whistles, nothing. Tick is like, we need to find my daddy and get the out of Artem yesterday. They also find Woody, the family car that I told y'all about, that very same car that Letty crashed through the front of that cabin. Here he is, miraculously repaired, sitting in front of the lodge. And William is gaslighting the shit out of them, saying, well, I found it as is and it was just fine when I found it. So the group decides to explore the village in Artem to see if they can pick up any clues on where Tick's dad may be. And then as they're walking around, Tick hears the whistle that called off the creatures and naturally he starts freaking out. And they meet this handler woman. I'm not really sure what her job title is. She is like some kind of farmer slash handler slash I don't know. And she's the one who blew the whistle. She's rude, racist as hell, okay? And she's like some kind of overseer of this large stone silo that sits in the center of the village. And Tick is like, oh, okay, this is where they're keeping my dad. It has to be. It's the only stone building in the village. So after their little run-in with the handler woman, the group is trekking back to the lodge for dinner. And that's when Uncle George remembers something that Dora, Tick's mother, told him a long time ago about her ancestry. So Tick's mother's ancestor, Hannah, was a slave, right? She was a slave who escaped her master's house during a fire. Are you putting 2 and 2 together yet? Titus Braithwaite was Hannah's master and also the father of her child. They hated us back then, but they sure like to climb on top of us. That's like his however many great granddaddy. And this would explain the birthright that Tick's father was talking about when he wrote that letter to Tick. And this is why he was drawn to Artem in the first place. Let's put ourselves into Tick's shoes for a second, shall we? Your daddy is missing and you're conflicted because A, he was abusive to you your whole life, and B, you still care about him and you want to find him. Then you're trying to convince your friend and your uncle that some very serious, scary shit went down and they're not believing you, but you're not making it up. And you just found out that your great granddaddy was a slave owner. The fact that Tick hasn't fully snapped yet is beyond me. Just then, because we need conflict, the creatures show up again and they surround the group. That is until they are saved by the mysterious driver woman from the silver car, yes. And her name is Christina Braithwaite. Christina blows the whistle this time and once again, Letty and George's memory is completely wiped. But then here's Tick completely unaffected. Tick is then taken to meet Christina's dad, Samuel Braithwaite. He is the current leader of this cult, coven, secret society called the Order of Ancient Dawn, and there's like a subgroup within that is called the Sons of Adam. I used to think they were the same thing, but they're not. We're just gonna refer to the Sons of Adam for the rest of the video. So the Sons of Adam is a secret wizard society for white men only, because that's normal. So while Samuel is trying to explain the Sons of Adam to Tick, Christina is jumping in everywhere she can, trying to impress her dad and stuff. She is trying too damn hard to be a part of this sexist, misogynistic, all boys club. I'm saying this right now. Christina is a traitor to her gender. Sue me. So while all of that is happening, Uncle George discovers this secret room behind a bookshelf, and he finds this book about the Order of Ancient Dawn. Samuel has this big master plan, right? And that plan is to open a portal to the Garden of Eden. Let's get back to Eden, live on top of the world. Because he claims that is a time where man was perfect and immortal. Sir, please, just please. Lo and behold, Tick is the key to opening said portal. That's why he here. And of course, Tick is not for this at all. He's like, I just came here to find my dad. I don't want to do with this. I want to go. I want to get my dad and I want to go. Christina is trying to encourage Tick to lean into the Sons of Adam because, you know, it's a part of him, and he ain't falling for that shit, and he immediately calls her out. He's like, you put a spell on Letty and George, quit playing with me. And Tick's like, if you want to be friends, fine, remove the spell off of my friend and my uncle, then we can talk. So Christina does remove the spell, and in doing that, Letty and George get all their memories back, so you can hear them in the hall, like from the hall, freaking out in their rooms. And after she does that, she traps all three of them in their room so they cannot escape, because now they've seen too much. Is this sounding familiar? Does this sound like it sound like, right? It sound like, I know. There's this scene where Christina helps a cow give birth, and it's not a calf like people are expecting if they're seeing the show for the first time. It's the cow gives birth to one of the creatures. It's a baby. It's called a shapoth. I think a shapoth. The cow gives birth to a baby shapoth, and I'm like, this is how you're raising your cattle? You're impregnating your cattle with... I'm gonna move on. So next scene, and Tick somehow escapes his room and he finds Letty. And he's there to comfort her and tell her that everything's gonna be okay. And during this scene, Letty decides to show her vulnerable side. She talks about the things she went through with her childhood, especially what it was like having a mother like hers. Neglectful is the word. She unloaded on him, basically. Then Tick and her have a moment and they kiss. So, but not so fast. Don't get excited. Don't get too excited, because this is an illusion, my friends. It's a hallucination. Tick isn't actually with Letty. He's still trapped in his room. He's still in his room and he's speaking to Uncle George through the walls via Morse code. And in Tick's hallucination, he's attacked by this Korean soldier, and he also seems to know her personally. He knows her by, they on a first name basis, him and the soldier. In Uncle George's hallucination, we see a woman named Dora. This happens to be Tick's deceased mother. And from jump, Uncle George knows that this isn't real because she's dead. But that doesn't stop him from dancing with her. And you can tell, like, while they're dancing with each other, it's not like a friendly, oh, this is my sister-in-law, we're just dancing. You can tell they had something going on between them when she was alive. And while Uncle George is dancing with his dead sister-in-law, we cut back to Letty in her room, and her and Tick are now making out. They tongue wrestling. Well, her and fake Tick. And Tick is still fighting with this Korean soldier in his room. So it's this one part where fake Tick is about to put it on Letty, right? And she's clearly not comfortable with what they're doing anymore, because she's like, okay, hold on, stop. I don't want to do this. This man unbuckles his pants, undoes his breeches. He has a serpent for a dick. Like a literal trouser snake. This is a physical manifestation of an image that is painted onto Letty's window. Okay, the original image is of Adam and Eve laying together, but in place of Adam's member, there's a serpent, because you know that whole story. I'll expand on the symbolism of this later, but we're gonna move on. So they all break out of these hallucinations eventually, and they are free to leave their rooms. Uncle George, being an uncle, the greatest uncle, you know, he's reassuring them that we're gonna get out of this, and I think I know how to do it. William comes back and he invites Tick and George to this little dinner party with all the members of the Sons of Adams, but it's men only, so Letty can't come. So Tick and George pull up to the function, you know, black tie, and they're the only two black men there. So as the dinner starts, Uncle George gets up out his seat and starts reciting the bylaws of the Order of Ancient Dawn / Sons of Adams to the, you know, rest of the members. And there's a loophole, and one of the bylaws is being that only white men can be a part of this cult / coven, but there is a loophole. Men of color, especially black men, are not allowed in the club, except unless they are a direct descendant of Titus and Braithwaite. They have automatic membership if they are a direct descendant of Titus. And Tick is. Skin color be damned. And their power overrules like regular schmegular members. So Tick stands up and this is what he says.
I want everybody except Samuel to get up and get the fuck out.
So after that, Tick goes to Sam. He's like, cough up my daddy. Give him up. Samuel completely ignores that request. He's like, listen, I need you because you have the strongest parts of Titus's powers residing within you. I need you to do this ritual. So Tick and George go back to the silo to see if his father is hidden there somewhere. And then they find his father's flask. So they know that, okay, he's around here in this general area somewhere. Then they run into the handler woman. And just when she's about to blow their heads off, here comes Letty charging down the steps and whacks her in the head with the shovel. Perfect timing! So Uncle George, being the most resourceful nerd, he comes through with his big brain energy and he remembers something about his brother's favorite book, which is The Count of Monte Cristo. And he starts examining the brick wall for a passageway. We cut scenes and we see Tick's father rising out of the soil, handcuffed. Like, y'all buried him. Why did y'all have to handcuff him too? So they reunite and Montrose, Tick's father, that's his name, he's not happy to see any of them. And Tick is like, damn, you wanted me to come, that's why I'm here right now. Montrose is quick to berate his son and Uncle George is like, hey, we're not here for that. So the group steals the silver car and they are escaping Arden. And while they're doing that, Uncle George mentions something called the Book of Names. It's like the opposite of the Necronomicon. Instead of Book of Death, it's a Book of Life. And Uncle George tells us that the Sons of Adam are looking for it because it holds the spell to immortality, amongst other things. And he explained that the first attempt with Titus to cast this spell resulted in the original lodge burning down and killing everyone. And just then the car crashes into an invisible force field. Absolutely nothing is there, but it just crumbles against the air. The Braithwaites have hindered their escape and they were right here. And then not only did they crash their car, Sam shoots Letty! And I'm like, you already crashed their car into an invisible force field. This is overkill. But the way that Tick rushed to Letty's side, swoon. But that's not enough for Samuel because he shoots Uncle George too. He's like, listen, I will heal them both if you participate in this ritual. Reluctantly, Tick agrees to this and he starts getting ready for the ritual. So he's in this room and there's like a portal / window that is looking into another room with all his family in it. And he sees that Letty has been resurrected, but Uncle George is still fighting for his life on the bed. So Tick starts talking that shit and he clocks Christina's tea, talking about you're bending over backwards for a dad who don't give a shit. about you. And you can tell that struck a nerve with her because she has been trying so hard her whole life to join the Sons of Adam, and all Tick had to do was be born a man, a black man at that, and that, you know, that pissed her off. So we look in on the brothers. George and Montrose have a chance to talk to each other, and we get some more info on generational trauma and curses at the mention of their abusive father. And of course, like brothers do, they start arguing, and while this man is fighting for his life against this bullet wound, George reminds Montrose that Tick might not even be his. You heard me, I didn't stutter. Tick is his son. Montrose, you are not the father. This explains so much about everything we know thus far. Uncle George has a feeling he's not gonna make it, so he's begging Montrose, just get Tick and Letty out of here and get home safely. And even through the anger, Montrose is promising that he's gonna make it out and he's gonna take his brother with him. So the ritual begins, and this beautiful poem is scored over it. It's called Whitey on the Moon by Gil Scott Heron, hence the title of this episode. Go read the poem for yourself. Read it. I'm not going to do it for you. Educate yourself. Go read it. The ritual seems to be working, but it is very painful for Tick. And during the ritual, Tick sees a vision of his ancestor Hannah. And at this moment, the lodge begins to crumble around them, and the ritual is failing again. And to this day, I don't know if Tick or Hannah was responsible for the ritual failing, because like something came out of his little ring, his little crest ring, and after that happened, the ritual started failing. So I don't know if she did that or he did that, but either way. So yes, the lodge begins to crumble around them, and Letty and Montrose are trying their best to get George out. And just like all those years ago, the lodge goes up in flames again. And Hannah, her spirit, runs out the front door. Only this time, when she ran out the front door of the lodge, she led Tick to safety. And you can see like her spirit, like she has the book of names with her. Tick makes it out just in time, and he reunites with Letty. And without saying a word, without saying one syllable, Letty lets Tick know that Uncle George did not make it. Stellar acting. Stellar acting. I tear up every time. We see Montrose holding his dead brother in the family car, and Tick gets his chance to say goodbye. I just want to say this real quick. The song choice for this scene, River by Leon Bridges, whoever chose that, the emotional arrangement, it fit too well, because I was crying like that was my uncle too. And that is the end of episode 2. Alright, now that we've gone through the entire plot of episode 2, I'm going to share my thoughts, my commentary, and some symbolism that I picked up. First and foremost, I applaud the writers and the creators for not dropping the ball on the momentum of the storytelling. Now going on to commentary, the main thing that jumped out at me this episode was the white man using the black man to succeed. Being that this show heavily deals with racism because it is literally during Jim Crow America, there's layers to it, right? There's layers to racism and discrimination. The whole reason Tick even ended up in Artem is because the Sons of Adam needed him, needed the power within him, because they couldn't do shit by themselves. The show expounds on this very theme when they played Whitey on the Moon. The scene they even scored it with was intentional. The poem is about the juxtaposition of great achievements made by white Americans and the simultaneous struggle that black Americans have been plagued with. It's like y'all used our tax dollars to put a man on the moon for what reason? A white man at that. Side note, I'm still not sure they even went to the moon in the first place. Meanwhile, we're struggling to pay our bills. We're struggling to live out here. Same view here in the ritual scene. Tick can't get a seat at the table of this exclusive coven, which is his literal birthright, but y'all can siphon his powers and his energies and nearly kill him to open some ass portal. Also, There's so much to unpack during the hallucination sequence. These hallucinations were very telling for our characters. It showed us the unresolved traumas that they hold on to and the fears of what's to come. Let's start with Letty. The person that she sees in her hallucination is Tick. And this lets us know that she trusts him enough to unpack all of her childhood trauma. Then we confirm that Letty carries a torch for Tick when she decides to make out with him, or at the very least, she want to lay down with him. And then there's the symbolism of the trouser snake. I got 2 points of views from this, okay? First view. The first view is the replication of the image that we see on the window. You know, the penis snake with Adam and Eve, that image. To me, this painting, this image represents 2 things: temptation and consequence. Temptation coming from the serpent to eat the apple. Consequence is dealing with the aftermath of giving into that temptation. In short, Eve f***ed herself. The snake, the trouser snake, represents Eve f***ing herself with the choice she made. And the snake being attached to Adam represents how he went along with that temptation and that choice. That's what I think. That's just my opinion. In the second view of the trouser snake symbolism, this represents the fear Letty has around sex itself. We clearly see her become hesitant and she changes her mind. I also feel like this reservation that Letty has, you know, against sex is due to the fact that her mom was bringing all types of men around very frequently, so she kind of viewed sex as a negative thing. Moving on to Tick and who he saw in his hallucination, the Korean soldier who tried to kill him. Remember the phone call he made to South Korea in episode 1? This hallucination is a manifestation of the person he was talking to. Clearly this reveals Tick has a fear of impending death. And this person must exist in real life because we hear him say that he doesn't want to hurt her. And at the end of this tussle, Tick ends up strangling the Korean soldier. I think this represents the very harsh reality that Tick will inevitably end up in danger and he will do whatever it takes to come out of the other end. Then there's Uncle George, and he saw Tick's dead mother, Dora. The fact that we see her in his hallucination keys in that he is still grieving her after all these years. And as I've mentioned before, there's like some romantic error between them, and we'll find out later on in the story why that is. Because yeah, you can miss your sister-in-law, but they had something going on when she was in the realm of the living. And come to find out, that very thing is true because Tick is George's son, not Montrose's. When it comes down to the hallucinations, long story short, they told on themselves. It was like they all had a mirror held up to them and they were watching their greatest regrets and fears take form before their very eyes. I even found the falling of the lodge to be symbolic. Y'all know me, I'm gonna find symbolism in literally anything. In that vein of history repeating itself, and that foundations built on pain and exploitations are doomed to fall. There's also a little bit of social commentary here on false oppression and victimhood that we see coming from white people. This comes from Christina and her nerve to feel sorry for herself after the heinous things she has done to Tick and his family. She's like, well, I can't join the boys club because my daddy won't let me. Well, they're sexist and misogynistic. Well, now that is terrible, but Miss Thing, you're a beautiful, rich, white woman with supernatural powers. I think you're going to be okay. Meanwhile, while you complain about not being able to join the Sons of Adams or get your damn daddy's approval, meanwhile, you stood by and watched your father let your father shoot 2 defenseless black people. You were complicit in holding a black man hostage and watch 3 black people almost succumb to a spell that you put on them, and had the nerve to take that they're the same. Yeah, because you know exactly what it's like to be a black man in Jim Crow America. You're the same. Christina, please be so for real. And then I'm sure people are gonna say, well, Talia, she saved them from the racists chasing them out of the town, and she saved them from the creatures. Okay. And your point is, that being said, do I think Christina has the potential to be an ally? No. She is capable of doing good things, doing the right thing, but hey, even a broken clock is right once or twice. And also because I've seen the show dozens of times, so I know about her. Alright, the music. Can we talk about it? The score and the soundtrack is one of the many things that I adore about Lovecraft Country. It takes true talent and attention to detail to pick a certain song for a certain scene. I know I'm talking about scoring like it's rocket science, but it's just so cool to me. Using River by Leon Bridges for George's death, it was so spiritually and emotionally evoking. I admire how the song is gentle, but there's a sense of a sunset and a homegoing looming in the song as well. And the song adds even more sentimentality because Tick is saying goodbye to his father. His father is dead and he has no idea. Have to go, George, damn it! Just a little side note, I always wonder what the series would look like if George lived. The creators of the show are so damn good, like they even use the score in the soundtrack to reference what's happening with the characters. So when Sam shoots Letty, Killing Strangers by Marilyn Manson is playing. Manson said that the song was about his father's PTSD from the Vietnam War and how killing strangers in said war really affected him. Tick was fighting when he was in the army. He was fighting that very same war. And in this episode, when he was trying to explain to Letty and George what happened the night before, and they were like looking at him crazy, they even speculated that he could be suffering from PTSD. Just multiple strokes of genius. It's too good. Alright, that's it. I'm done rambling. So those were my thoughts on episode 2 of Lovecraft Country, Whitey on the Moon. Y'all get ready for this next one because it only gets crazier from here. Tune in next week so we can talk about episode 3. Okay, so that concludes our video for today. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. And if you made it to the end of this video, comment an apple emoji for evening and subscribe if you want to. I'll see y'all on the next go round. Okay, bye.